C'est un événement qui se veut sérieux, hein? La preuve, j'ai mes lunettes.
Take a drag queen, a couple of journalists, a beauty content creator, and a communications expert, and what do you get? A panel discussion called Don't Mess with the Facts. It was one of many events that took place across the country to fight mis and disinformation. And that particular event was held days after the U.S. presidential election. So what can we all take away from this? Well, I sat down with Emilie Nicolas, who was one of the panelists, and here's that conversation. So Emilie, what stood out to you from that panel discussion?
There was a lot to be discussed. People had so many different ranges of expertise. But in terms of me and the feedback that I got from the audience, I think of what stood out for what I said was this idea that when you think about misinformation, disinformation, it's not just about getting the facts across and checking people's facts and correcting the facts. It's very much about understanding what is the emotional need that people are getting.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
L'impact de Trump, justement.
At the panel, Donald Trump came up, and
Yes.
Obviously analysts do say that mis and disinformation shaped part of the narrative in that election. What lessons do you think can be learned from the U.S. election and how information was transmitted and received?
I think that we are facing a crisis in media and social media. First of all, there's no justice or fairness in the kind of content that algorithms are pushing forward, especially when you have a huge platform that is literally being controlled by one of Donald Trump's biggest supporters, and I'm talking about Elon Musk and the platform X. And so there's obviously that, but there's also a lot of people who are being basically fed content that is very, very addictive. It feeds basically anger, it feeds a sense of rage, and that's the world that we live in today, and we need to be very, very careful about that.
And you see those walls here when you hear rhetoric about politics being very divisive.
As a political commentator, I've been witnessing how that has changed, partly because all MPs of all brands and parties are basically incentivized to put online content that will work for the platforms. And that content is sharp, it's snappy, and it's not necessarily intellectually sound. It's mostly about attacking people in a way that will trigger strong reactions. And I'm worried that in the next federal election, we're going to be in a political culture that we as Canadians have lost control over.
How do we fight that going forward? Because on one hand, you can have social media tapping into people's anger, or podcasts saying, I hear you, despite what the facts may be, or voters who could feel like just apathetic, that this is all I'm hearing, the anger, I'm just tuned out, I just won't vote.
I think we combat fire with fire in the sense that if people are drawn to certain content because it offers them a sense of safety and validation, I think we also need to think of journalism as a place where we also give information that is both sound and emotionally responsible. But it's going to take leadership, and it's going to take institutional change, and we are not the only democracy that's been affected by that, and so it's going to take actually global leadership because the platforms are global and the threats on democracies are global as well. And so just like climate change, it's not because you shame people into recycling that you're going to solve the issue, but it helps to recycle. I think it's the same thing with democracy. I think being a citizen of a country is more than choosing between 3 or 4 people in a specific riding every 4 years, and it feels like sometimes our role as citizens is just that, but citizenship and participation in society is much bigger than this, and even the conversation we're having now is absolutely a part of that, and people in many ways can contribute to that.